Hey, how are you?
We're good. Tampa coming to town. This a couple of years ago, man. Like 10 years ago, this would be a big deal. Eagles in Tampa. When these two teams went at it. Now you got a couple of 4-5s. I would think the Tampa 4-5 feels better than the Philadelphia 4-5.
Well, yeah, especially for the Buccaneers, who were 2-14 last year, so they've already doubled their win total from a year ago. And the arrow is pointing up, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where the offensive line has been revamped. It's performing much better and protect Jameis Winston, who's off to a great start to his NFL career, and Doug Martin, who really needs to get back on track, but is having a healthy and much better season this year than he has over the last 2 years.
This is a team with Winston. They took him number 1 overall. There was a lot of question marks about him. Anthony Becht was on Wednesday's show. He said if he had to grade him off the field, he would give him an A+. That's what he has meant to this organization. Would you concur that he has really been the right pick for this Tampa Bay organization?
Yes, and Anthony Becht knows this stuff, too. Jameis Winston, without question, has been the player that the Buccaneers needed at the quarterback position. He is charismatic. He's a tremendous leader. He's a playmaker. He's got all the intangibles necessary to become, in my opinion, a multi-Pro Bowl type quarterback. And I really believe that this guy, in addition to being a good quarterback throwing the ball, is also a good threat running the ball. He's actually leading the Buccaneers with 4 touchdowns. And when you look at the fact that Doug Martin's got 3 and Jameis Winston has 4 down there by the red zone, he really is kind of a multi-dimensional weapon.
Yeah, and obviously 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He had a real bad start to the season. So since that first game, he's cut down on the interceptions. Mike Evans is a guy. The drops. He looks like he's been wearing an Eagles uniform all year with all those drops he's had out there. But, man, he is such an imposing figure. How much does he mean to their offense? And this week against this Eagles secondary, is he a guy that you think can excel?
Well, yeah, he really has to for the Buccaneers offense to hit on all cylinders, meaning the run and the pass game. Doug Martin has to get going because Jameis Winston's a much better quarterback when he has play action. As part of that passing game. With Mike Evans, he's fought through some drops. He had 6 drops against the New York Giants, but he still had 8 catches for 150 yards. Imagine the numbers he could have put up had he not had those drops. So, and he backed up that game with a much more consistent showing last week in a big 10-6 win over Dallas. He had 126 yards. I call him right now Mike and the Miracles because without Austin Seferian-Jenkins at the tight end position, he's been out since week 2 with a significant shoulder injury. And then you've got Vincent Jackson, who's been out since the second half of the Washington game. It really has been Mike Evans in terms of the Bucs passing attack. He has been, everything the Buccaneers have wanted him to be. He is a big receiver with speed. He's got a huge wingspan. His catch radius helps Jameis Winston. He just has to get over those drops, and if he can become a more consistent receiver and helping out his quarterback, not dropping the ball, then I think this guy can be one of the best receivers in the NFL.
How much is Vincent Jackson not playing this week going to hurt this team?
Well, it does hurt, especially in the red zone. The red zone woes for Tampa Bay have been chronicled. Jameis Winston's had to get into the act, scoring touchdowns down there with his feet because it's so much easier to double cover and bracket cover Mike Evans down there with only 10 or 12 yards to defend when you're down there inside the 5-yard line. That's really where they miss having another big 6'5" wide receiver, Vincent Jackson. And also Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who also has a red zone touchdown this year. He caught one in week 1. It actually was Jameis Winston's first touchdown pass. So I don't think Seferian-Jenkins and Jackson are going to play against Philly. They're listed as questionable, but if they do, it certainly is a huge boom to Tampa Bay's offense, especially when it comes to the red zone. It's crazy, to believe, but Jameis Winston's having a very good rookie season. But when he gets his full arsenal of weapons, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, Vincent Jackson, and Mike Evans all together on the field at the same time with Doug Martin and Charles Sims, Tampa Bay's young offense is going to be quite potent.
Scott Reynolds, the Pewter Report covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got a lot of young pieces on offense. Gerald McCoy really worries a lot of Eagles fans this week. The Sioux dominated the game last week. He disrupted everything. Is McCoy a similar type of guy? Could he really disrupt the Eagles' run game this week?
Well, if we were having this conversation before the bye week, I would say yes. But he has really cooled off since the bye week. He had 4.5 sacks in the first 4 games for Tampa Bay, actually the first 5 games for the Buccaneers. Since the bye week, he has got 5 tackles in the last 4 games. And there's some whispers around one Buccaneer place that he's a little bit unhappy with the fact that Jameis Winston's kind of taken over as the face of the franchise, and he really has become the emotional and vocal leader. And that's just Jameis being Jameis. He's a naturally charismatic guy. He's an effervescent personality. And I think it's rubbing Gerald a little bit the wrong way. I don't know that to be the case, but certainly Winston's rise in popularity and performance on the field has coincided with McCoy's dip in play. And this is a guy that's a 3-time Pro Bowler that I don't care if you're getting double teamed, and he's not getting double teamed every play. He's got his share of one-on-ones. But I don't care if you are getting double teamed. If you're a Pro Bowl defensive tackle making over $10 million a year, you better find a way to get more than 1 tackle a game, and that's what he's been averaging.
Scott, where's an area the Bucs have really been struggling that you think Philadelphia can exploit?
No, that's a great question, and I think that the passing game, if they can really bracket Mike Evans and take him out of the mix, the Buccaneers have got Dante Dye and Adam Humphries, 2 rookie wide receivers that don't really scare you. And you look at Philadelphia's secondary; they've got 12 interceptions. Thurman, Carroll. They've got some big cornerbacks that I think could be physical and really take away the other weapons that Tampa Bay has on offense. And they're more like pop guns than bazookas. I'm talking about Humphries and Dante Dye. And, the other area, the flip side of that is Tampa Bay's secondary. It's played better, over the last 2 weeks with Sterling Moore and Jude Ije-Barima, the undrafted free agent cornerback out of Bowling Green. Those 2 guys have really stepped in. The Buccaneers have benched their cornerbacks, Mike Jenkins and Jonathan Banks, for poor play. Those 2 over the last 2 weeks have stepped in and done pretty well. But you have to wonder, are they flash in the pans or are they the real deal here to stay? And I think that going on the road and facing, I think probably a better quarterback situation than they faced last week with Matt Castle, who was awful against the Buccaneers. I think they're going to get a much bigger test.
You saw that too from him. Scott Reynolds with us, the Pewter Report. When you get the feeling of this team playing Philadelphia, what do the people down there think of this Philadelphia team? I know the expectations were high. Let me tell you, people are ready to run off the bridges over here. Any bridge you can find, the Commodore Barry, the Ben Franklin, the Walt Whitman. People are lining up. It's been a disaster here in Philly. I mean, that game last week against Miami was painful. The offense has been painful to watch this year, Scott. A Chip Kelly offense has been painful to watch. So what do people make of Philly with Tampa coming up here?
Well, you got to remember, it was Chip Kelly that spurned the Buccaneers when they were looking to hire him out of Oregon, even before Philly got a hold of him. So, seeing the offensive success that Chip Kelly has had the last couple of years and seeing those 10-win seasons, the Buccaneer fans were certainly envious of Philadelphia. And I don't think that's the case now. They're very happy with Dirk Cutter, who is an outstanding offensive coordinator choice for the Buccaneers. And, he has done a great job developing Jameis Winston. And so I think now, I think the Buccaneer fans, just like fans of other teams in and around the NFL, were scratching their heads at all of these different personnel moves that Chip Kelly was making and questioning whether they were going to work out. And you look at the numbers, you look at the record, and you have to say that, no, they're not working out. And I think that the Buccaneer fans look at this game at the beginning of the season and say, whoa, there's no way. This is a tough stretch. You got the Dallas Cowboys at home, then you go to Philly, then you go to Indianapolis. There's no way that this young Buccaneer team has a chance to win these games. But, you replace Tony Romo with Matt Castle. You have Mark Sanchez, going this week, against the Buccaneers. Then you've got Matt Hasselbeck rather than Andrew Luck, and the Colts are down on their luck this year, pun intended. You've got 3 straight backups here that the Buccaneers can actually beat and get above 500. So it's certainly been a reversal of fortune from the Buccaneers looking on paper at the beginning of the season and then also looking at what they're actually going to be facing here on Sunday.
Good stuff. Scott Reynolds, Pewter Report for more from the Tampa Bay side of things as they get ready to try to even up their mark at 5-5 here in Philadelphia. You can listen to the game on 97.3. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you.
And he brought up the point about Kelly. Remember, they wanted to get him to come to Tampa Bay, and he ended up going down there. And if you remember, Greg Schiano was down there. That was kind of a surprise move when Kelly decided not to go. And obviously, they are in a different situation now. They got Lovie Smith. He mentioned Dirk Cotter, who was the offensive coordinator down there. All right, more coming up on the way, including some of the numbers to watch for this weekend when the Eagles get ready to take on this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. We'll tell you what to watch for numerically. That's coming up on the Sports Bash.